Okay, I'd now like to call on Jeff, who's going to talk a little bit more about the situations in the US that he's working on for Indigenous communities. Thank you.
It's amazing on one hand, and what everything Julia just said, I'm 100% agreement on, and which is kind of unusual. But the truth is, only certain things work. And her approach is the exact approach we've been doing on reservations for the last 15, 16 years. You know, and we didn't start out that way, and you know, there's a learning curve. You know, I have when I do that kind of work versus your typical veterinary work, whatever typical means, you know, Western ownership of animals is different. Our idea of ownership is different than their idea of ownership. And that's the first thing you have to identify wherever you go. You know, and India has one of the largest street dog populations in the world. At the same time, those street dogs are vaccinated, neutered, put back on the street, and fed by multiple people. They don't necessarily have dogs that live with them in their bedrooms, unlike most of the dogs in the States. So every place has to be looked at separately, but I think the main goal is always the same, and that's basically to enhance the health and welfare of the companion animals involved, but also indirectly or directly to enhance the welfare of the people that are involved with those animals, because they're directly linked. There's no question about it. With zoonotic diseases, bite prevention, you know, any way you want to cut it, right down to just the human psyche of seeing such pain and suffering. It does affect the soul. So, I mean, everything you said just struck home with me. And you can't, it's easy for us, I come from white bread middle America, you wouldn't know it by my hair, but it's true. And no, it's really hard to think outside the box or your comfort zone. And the truth is, you have to walk a mile in their shoe. You have to put yourself in a different scenario. And we are that 1/3 I talked about of being kind of overfed. We're that 1/3 that have a little bit more than everybody else. And it's really hard. I mean, while it's easy for us to know what we want to do, and while it's easy for us to see what changes need to happen, that doesn't mean it's easy for them to see it. And until they see it and see how we're going to interact with them and make those differences, we're not going to get anywhere. So it can't be on our terms. It has to be on their terms, whoever there is. Do you have we're going to play this a little bit. There's a two-part DVD, and we can burn them, and you can also get them from Montana, spayneutertaskforce.org. But I'm just going to show you kind of, these are the kind of things we have for children, and this is one thing we have playing when we're doing these clinics. So.
Puppies and kitties are cute, fun, and lovable. But if there are too many dogs and cats, many of them won't have homes or families to take care of them. They may not have enough to eat. They may get sick, and they may die alone or be killed. Imagine if everyone you know, and even people you don't, even in your own town, got together to take care of all the animals. It would be like Christmas morning, wouldn't it?
Just for the record, not everybody celebrates Christmas. So.
Can you think of a town like that? It could be your town.
Mall. It is our second Spay and Neuter Day at the mall, sponsored by the Butte Spay and Neuter Task Force, under the guidance of the Montana Spay and Neuter Task Force.
The Montana Spay-Neuter Task Force brings people in a community together who care about animals and helps them organize community pet care events where pet owners can bring their cats and dogs to have spay and neuter surgeries. Animals who have spay and neuter
cats a day, no
operations
problem.
live longer. They are healthier and they are easier to take care of. They don't wander, become lost, hurt, or get into trouble. If you love your pet, don't you want to do everything you can to make sure it has a long, healthy, and safe life? A spay is a surgery performed on a female animal to prevent her from getting pregnant and having litters of puppies or kittens that may grow up to be unwanted and homeless, too. A neuter is surgery performed on a male animal that prevents him from getting a female animal pregnant.
We're going to use a gas anesthetic on him to help him so he'll wake up a little quicker for us. So. It's okay.
At community pet care events, spay and neuter surgeries are performed by veterinarians who are assisted by veterinary technicians. Vet techs help the doctors by doing things like preparing animals to be put to sleep with anesthesia so they are unconscious during their surgery. If you've ever had surgery yourself or know someone who has, you know patients need tender, loving care. Do you think you would like to become a veterinarian? Sarah Downs is helping out at a community pet care event to learn more about how to become a veterinarian.
There's a lot more going on than I thought it would be, because when you bring your animal into the vet clinic, you don't see any of what goes on behind the scenes, and everything is right up front for the owners to see, and you can watch the surgeries if you want to and be with your dog throughout the entire process, as opposed to being sent out the door.
Do you know what a volunteer is? Firemen, policemen, teachers, principals, young people like you, even people who work in government show how much they care about animals by volunteering at community pet care events. Mike Murray, a county commissioner, helps make decisions for his community. This man, Judge Wally Jewell, often sees court cases involving people and their animals.
Because I love dogs and I hate to see so many dogs out. Like yesterday afternoon after I left the spay and neuter clinic, I was on my way to do a wedding and there was a man stopped beside the road in front of me trying to lure a puppy out from the middle of the highway on the frontage road. And it's things like that that this spay and neuter clinic helps to eliminate.
At community pet care events, families are brought together. This is the second community pet care event for which the Wilcox family has volunteered.
What's your Alexis? Thanks, Mom. There we go.
Oh, you show us your tag?
Alexis, can you see your tag? Cool. Know who they are, huh?
you want to talk about? How'd you feel?
Well, I felt like worried and stuff.
That everything turned out okay?
Yeah, it's his too. Don't total stomach.
They have sharp nails.
And those are cats.
When you help out at a Montana Spay-Neuter Task Force Community Pet Care event, you will be given special jobs to do you never thought you could do.
Okay. I will spray with hydrogen peroxide and then wipe them with paper towels to get all the blood off. And then with all the cats, all the female cats, I will get a little thing and get some of the tattoo stuff on it and rub it on the cat's cut.
You might help prepare animals for surgery. Or massage a kitty to help it wake up from being under anesthesia. If you learn how to take care of animals, you want to help take care of other people, like your little brother or sister, too. That's what a community is supposed to be, a place where people who care about each other work together to solve problems.
Let's say you can order these, and they're not very expensive. There's two of them, and one of them is basically a how-to. They actually, one of the things on here, they show you how to clean tubes, endotracheal tubes, how they do every step by step all the way through. There's one where the cat comes in, and you're basically following the cat through surgery and recovery. And then there's one where we follow the dog through surgery and recovery. You have interviews with different veterinarians, and some, I'm talking like heads of like Michigan State University Surgical Department, I believe, or maybe it was Missouri. I've seen the Michigan State guy's been there. I know the Missouri guy's been there, and I want to say someone from Mississippi. Point being, these guys are bigwoods. You know, the PhDs with lots of other abbreviations and letters behind their names, and you know they've participated. And their impression is, well, we're not sure. We kind of came to see what was going on. We've heard about this. You know, we've heard pros and cons. And once they participate, their overall experience has been really positive. Dr. Mark Francis, which was in there a couple different times, he came to the first one of the first ones we did in the Cheyenne Reservation. Very much a skeptic, nice guy. We're good friends now. But, you know, he kind of came in and, you know, you just know someone's just staring at you. And you're like, okay, hi, what's going on? Well, I'm so-and-so. I'm a doctor, and I'm just kind of see what you're doing here. Because it was really in his backyard that we were doing this. And he was given a letter and asked to participate, and he chose not to. But he came down with a very critical eye. And we talked to him for a bit. And, I didn't think we'd ever see him back. The next year, he signed up to come down and do it. 3 years later, he sold his practice, and he was doing full-time spay-neuter work for the task force. And he was getting paid better money and didn't have to work near as many hours. And now he got really fast and really good. And the anesthesia machines, he actually makes those too. So he was selling anesthesia machines to other task force groups. So people do change, and it's really hard coming out of school where you've been taught really Cadillac, Mercedes medicine, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you have the money, that's great, but it's not reality for a lot of people. And, there has to be a balance. And I think, you can say, well, there's children involved here. And these animals get far more monitoring than they probably do in any individual vet hospital, and that there's someone with them the whole time. Someone's always touching them, moving them, they're rubbing them, waking them up. Maybe it's the owner, maybe it's a technician, maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But it's amazing. Things do not go unnoticed, I'll tell you that. If it's oozing a little bit more blood than the last one did, if they think that animal's not breathing as fast as the last one did, they're calling you over. In fact, it's almost a nuisance, because people are hypersensitive, and I guess I'd rather err them on that side, but we're always having to be pulled over to look at an animal, what's going on, or have one of the techs pull over. And it's a program that works, but I think the most important thing, it's not even about the spay-neuter. It's the fact that, we've pulled down the veil and we've shown them what goes on, that we're not hurting anybody and that we're there to help. And by getting them involved, it makes them have ownership in the process. And all the stats and all the studies definitely show that once they make that initial investment, it's free, but the initial investment in time, energy, and effort, that they are more likely to seek treatment later. And I'm pretty sure on another section of this, there's an interview with Mark Francis, who once again had a practice very close to where we were doing work, and he said that was true. He just point blank, admitted that, yeah, what I found is that people were calling me up for a while, say, hey, can you do this special for me since they just did it here a few weeks ago? And he's like, well, no, I really can't, but I can do this for you. But what he found is that more the people started bringing animals to him that he had never seen before, and his clientele grew. So I know from a veterinary standpoint, you're in a business person standpoint, your first gut instinct to say is, if you're doing something for free and you're competing against me, that can't be good for my business, But in the long run, it oftentimes is good for your business. And then my other question would be, well, it is a societal issue. I understand that, but you are in the best position to help deal with and control, as I said yesterday, and I kind of see this as a ship. And the choice is, we can be the anchor being drugged behind and trying to slow it down, or we can be the captains of the ships, and sometimes we just maybe settle for being first mate and just give, help every now and then. I much prefer being a captain than an anchor, quite frankly. So I kind of will leave you with that since it's only a few minutes here. And I think the other thing I would say is just keep in mind, walk a mile in their shoes. These people really don't have a lot of money, and they're culturally they think differently than we do, so. That doesn't make them bad people. It just makes it different. Okay? Latham Foundation. You should Google that, lathamfoundation.org. This is a lesson in changing attitudes. It's an article about the Montana Spay Neuter Task Force. They've helped fund some of this stuff, and they have a DVD on it about changing attitudes. Same thing. But the two-part DVD that you can get from the Montana Spay Neuter Task Force.org, which should be in the CD and all that. It's a how-to, right down to anesthetic protocols. There's different ones on there. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. So they really walk you through the whole thing, how to clean instruments, how to autoclave them, and everything. And that's really Cadillac. They have anesthesia machines and autoclaves and all individual packs, and that's not necessarily what happens in more indigenous places further away from communities. This was more in a nicer community area versus some of the reservations I go through are really out in the middle of nowhere. And obviously in the Northwest Territories, you're probably not going to have access to 100 surgical packs and things like that. So you have to improvise. But it's not rocket science, for the record. Thank you.